Ah, Andriel. It is good of you to seek me out. Though I did not say so before, I am most impressed by your skills as a lawmaster, and by the courage you and your companions have shown.
The Dunedain kingdom of Arnor fell long ago. There is nothing left in much of the north save ruins. Why would Sauron build a force here?
Sauron seeks dominion over all of Middle-earth. His desire is to order all things as he sees fit. Even were these lands empty from here to the sea, still he would seek to control them. There is power in Rivendell that could stand against him when all others fall, for a time. And this is something Sauron cannot allow.
Of all those now threatened by the enemy, the Shire folk are the least able to defend themselves. Perhaps I am needed there.
I believe Elrond has made his wishes clear, Andriel. He knows you are needed urgently elsewhere. With the flight of the ring in this direction, the enemy is looking this way, and has forgotten the Shire for now. For now. But eventually his eye will turn once again toward the Shire, as humble as it is. Hobbits as miserable slaves would please him far more than hobbits happy and free. And there is such a thing as malice and revenge. Sauron will leave the final devastation of the Shire to his servant Agendaur. And that is yet another reason why you must find him and put an end to his designs. In opposing Agendaur, you are defending the Shire.
You may have heard that Bellerom aided us at Fornost. Surely we could call upon the Eagles to aid in the matter of the ring.
I don't fault you for thinking along those lines. Why not beg a ride from an eagle, fly far out to the west, and drop the ring into the deepest part of the sea? Such ideas were debated at Elrond's council. But there are many things in the deep waters, and seas and lands may change. We cannot think of our time alone. We must destroy this thing forever.
Agendaur struck me as being older than he appeared. Have you ever encountered him?
Though I know nothing of Agendaur himself, I have seen his kind at other times in distant lands. He is likely a black Númenórean, and a master of dark sorceries.
It was long ago, even before my birth, when those distant kin of the Dunedain fell into evil. If he comes of that bloodline, he is even more dangerous than I had imagined.
Who can say what promises Sauron has made to him? Perhaps even a ring of his own. At the very least, Agendaur expects to rule all of the North. He would be a cruel tyrant. The elves he will seek to utterly destroy. Hobbits, men, dwarves, any that survive, will be enslaved. And he will raise an iron kingdom in the north, in mockery of the ancient glory of Arnor. This is his dark dream. It must never come to pass.
When we first arrived, you said you recently passed through the Ettenmoors. Is there more you can tell me?
It is a rough and empty land, home to many trolls. I passed through with great haste, for I needed to reach Rivendell as quickly as I could.
And yet you saw no sign of trolls?
I saw neither trolls nor fresh signs of them, and that disturbs me more than encountering one. I doubt they've all packed up and left. Mindless brute creatures they may be, yet they can be used and driven to even greater wickedness by a strong enough hand. Agendaur could well be forming them into an army.
You believe he is mustering the trolls for an attack?
That is my fear. I would gladly be proven wrong, but my heart misgives me that somewhere in the Ettenmoors you will find them gathering and being prepared for war. We must know. Such a force could be sent against Rivendell, perhaps in hopes of capturing the ring.
I will gather my friends and set out for the moors. We will see what we can learn. The shards of Narsil, sword of Elendil. Soon it shall be remade. and Aragorn will bear it to war.
Greetings, Andriel. I am glad for the chance to speak with an old friend. Need keeps me away from Imladris, but my thoughts are often with those who dwell here.
I would like to know more about those chosen to be part of your fellowship.
Who is it that interests you?
One elf at least goes with you on your quest. Tell me about Legolas.
It is fitting that we have a representative of the Eldar along with us. Your people have been foes of Sauron since before my ancestors returned to the shores of Middle-earth. The Elves of Mirkwood are constantly called upon to protect their realm from the many enemies that infest that wood. They are skilled warriors and unmatched archers.
What of this man of Gondor, this Boromir?
Boromir is the son of Denethor, the steward of Gondor. I had never met him before Elrond's council, but long years ago, under another name, I served his grandfather Ecthelion. The men of Gondor are valiant and strong, and by all accounts Boromir is foremost among them in courage and skill at arms. I suspect we will have need of his sword before our quest is through.
What can you tell me of the dwarf, Gimli?
I have spent little time among dwarves, but Gimli is one of Durin's folk, and the dwarves of that line are trusted by Elrond, in spite of the differences that sometimes divide elves and dwarves. If Gimli is like most of his kin, he will prove loyal and stout-hearted, enduring in hardship and fierce in battle.
What of these other hobbits? Is it wise to send so many of the little folk on this quest?
We are asking much of Frodo. Until recently, he had never set foot outside the confines of the Shire. It will be a comfort for him to have the familiar companionship of his friends and kin, in the face of so much that will be new and frightening. I have traveled with these hobbits, and they proved far more courageous and hardy than many would suspect.
What of Mithrandir, of Gandalf? The two of you are great friends. Can you tell me something of him?
To know all there is to know of Gandalf would require a lifetime study. There is much about him that remains a mystery, even to me. Yet he is a relentless foe of Sauron, and without his vigilance, the ring would already be in the hands of the enemy. His wisdom and leadership will be of great value to the Fellowship.
You go now to claim your rightful place as the King of Gondor.
Above all, I go to help Frodo fulfill his quest. For unless the ring is destroyed, Gondor will soon fall, king or no king.
I gather you had never heard of Agandaur until these recent events.
I had never heard nor dealt with Agandaur specifically, but I know his kind. Years ago, I served in disguise in the armies of Gondor, where I contended with the corsairs of Umbal, who were often led by those akin to Agandaur. These black Númenóreans are a corrupt and wicked race. They worship Sauron as a god and seek the utter destruction of all who oppose him.
You have traveled a great deal. Is there anything you can tell me of the Eternians?
Only that it is a dangerous and unforgiving place. My own grandfather Alador was slain by trolls in the Etten Moors. It is important we learn if the enemy is active in the moors, but we do not send you there lightly. Be on your guard at all times while you venture there.
Good luck to you.
Andriel, I thought I might see you ere long. Imladris is filled with tales of your exploits. I believe Lindir has even begun a song about them. But while battles can build a heroic reputation, they also break down equipment. Do you have need of my services?
What task is before you now, Angmir?
My fellow smiths and I are preparing for a great work. Soon we will be called upon to reforge the legendary sword Narsil. In the meantime, I've been sharpening my skills by practicing the art of imbuing gemstones.
By imbuing, you mean the process of binding powers and virtues to an object?
Yes, clearly you have a good understanding of this art. As you know, gemstones are very strong vessels for this process. Sadly, appropriate gemstones have become difficult to find. The growing trouble throughout the land keeps travelers away, and our own people are staying closer to home.
Perhaps I can help you with that. I will be traveling soon.
I would be pleased to have your help. I will provide you with a list of the types of gemstones that are of the greatest value to me. If you collect the stones, I am certain I could create something that you would find useful. But to be of use, the gemstones must be of the highest quality. Fortunately, we have as a guest a dwarf of the Lonely Mountain. Glowin is his name, and he is skilled in the appraisal of gems of all sorts. Once you have gathered the stones, allow him to examine them. He'll know if they are suitable.
I have discovered some interesting relics of the Dunedain, Angmir. Perhaps you can help me with them.
Ah, these are work of Westernese, the lost land of Numenor. The men who forged these items were skilled indeed. You have the makings of a unique weapon here. Although these components were never part of a single work, I believe you have assembled everything I would need to make it so. The finished weapon would undoubtedly carry some elven qualities.
What do you mean by that?
Only that with a work such as this, the finished product is liable to reflect the nature of the smith who assembles it. If, for example, a dwarven smith were to complete this weapon, it might possess quite different qualities from the weapon I would create.
It seems fitting that an elven smith should do this task for me.
Very good. I will get started at once. There, it is finished. May this serve you well, my friend.
Here is something I have not seen in many a long year. And elf in Imladris I do not know. Welcome, friend. I am Andriel.
Greetings, lady. I am Legolas, son of King Thranduil of the Woodland Realm in Mirkwood.
Tell me about Mirkwood.
Mirkwood is the greatest woodland in all of Middle-earth. It was called Greenwood the Great, before the shadow of Sauron fell over it. In ages past, it was a place of great beauty. But now, it is filled with darkness and dread, save only in the north where my father's realm is maintained.
What brought you on such a long and perilous journey?
Unpleasant business. My father sent me to report the escape of Gollum, a creature Aragorn had entrusted to our care.
What can you tell me about this Gollum?
A pathetic creature who long held the Ring of Power. The evil of the ring has left him twisted and tormented. His only thought is to recover what was taken from him.
How did Gollum escape your guard?
Not from a lack of watchfulness, but perhaps from too much kindness. We occasionally allowed Gollum to go about the wood under close guard. But on one of these ventures, The guards were attacked by orcs from Dol Guldur. In the confusion, Gollum escaped. We followed his tracks southward for many leagues, until it drew near to Dol Guldur. There, it became too dangerous to pursue him any further.
What is this place, Dol Guldur?
A stronghold of the enemy in the south of Mirkwood. It was once the dwelling of the Dark Lord, until he was driven out in the year of the Dragon's Fall. But it has once again become a place of great evil. All the darkness that besets Mirkwood has its source in Dol Guldur.
Will you be departing for your home soon?
No. I have been chosen to represent elven kind among the Company of the Ring. I will be accompanying the halfling, Frodo Baggins, on his journey south.
I wonder why it is that with so many elves in his own household to consider, Elrond chose to make you a member of the Fellowship.
I asked for the privilege, and Elrond did not refuse me. I feel he may have been relieved not to lose any of his household to this quest. He will have need of all his strength, should the enemy move against Imladris.
I am curious why you would volunteer for this.
Partially to make amends for the loss of Gollum, but more so because this will be the final chapter in our long struggle against the darkness, and I wish to have a hand in our final victory, or at least to stand in the forefront of our last act of defiance.
May Elbereth guide you in the days ahead, Legolas.
And you as well, Andriel.
The sun shines and all is fair and peaceful here in Imladris. A far cry from the blood and dust of Fornost, is it not? The valor you showed there brings honor to all our folk. I'm only sorry you will have so little time here at home before setting out once more.
It would be pleasant to remain at ease for a time, yet I have promised to search the Ettenmoors for signs of the enemy. What of you? I know you both too well to believe you will sit idle for long.
No, indeed. We are to set off at once on a similar mission to your own. Only we will travel south, seeking for signs of the Nazgul or other threats. Aragorn will accompany us at least part of the way.
Farewell, friends. May good fortune accompany you. It is long since so many dwarves have graced the halls of Imladris. Who might you be?
Gimli, son of Glóin, at your service. I've heard your name spoken with great praise. That was fine work you did at Fornost. Not bad at all for one of Thranduil's folk, who are more accustomed to stealth in the forest than open battle. But after all, you had the help of my kinsman Farin. I heard he played a valiant part.
And so he did. But your wits fail you, Gimli, son of Glóin, if you cannot tell a wood elf from a member of Elrond's house.
Ah, well, no offense meant, but there are Mirkwood elves about in the halls, and they are the kind most familiar to me, being our neighbors and allies. Any elf of Elrond's house is a friend of mine and my kin. I am honored to be a guest here amongst the wise.
Farin spoke no word of more kin following him. What brings you such a distance to Imladris?
Aye, it's a long march from the halls of Erebor, but grim news goes on swift feet. It was for Bilbo's sake we came, with a warning that the servants of Sauron wished to find him and his ring. Thrice a Black Rider came to the front gate of Erebor, demanding news of Bilbo, and threatens to return once more. Ere that should happen, King Dain sent my father, Glóin, to seek the advice of Elrond. You've heard the results of the council? I see you have. I have sworn to protect Frodo upon his quest, an oath I will fulfill though all the orcs of Middle-earth stand in my way.
When you speak of a Black Rider, my mind is filled with the horror of the Nazgul. Was it such a fell messenger that came to your door?
Not one of the Nazgul, I think, but it was a fell servant all the same, who spoke in a voice like the hissing of snakes. What sort of man can serve the enemy willingly, even gladly, is beyond my understanding.
More cruel than any orc he struck me, full of venom and lies.
You could well be describing Agandar, for he is such a servant.
Could it be so? Perhaps. It is enough that we will not be deceived by promises from Mordor ever again. The only way the Dark Lord gets his ring back this time is when it's tossed into the fires of Mount Doom.
I have heard much about Erebor from Bilbo. Were you there at the downfall of Smaug?
Sadly, no. I was far to the west in the Blue Mountains where I was born, for my father deemed me too young to join him on Thorin's quest. But once the dragon was destroyed, I hurried with many of my kin to settle there. I've labored some 70 years to restore what was lost and helped build anew the city of Dale from the ruins of the Dragonfire. I've seen the bones of Smaug upon the lake bottom where he fell. Did you know that Bilbo exchanged riddles with the dragon? Now that's a tale he should tell you. We owe much to that fine old hobbit.
What do you know of Frodo?
I know only that he is Bilbo's adopted heir, and that he is chosen of his own free will to bear and destroy the ring. That's all I need to know. I'll protect him to my final breath if need be.
Elrond has tasked us with a mission to scout the Ettenmoors. But what is it that worries you about the North?
I like not what I've heard of this Agandar you drove from Fornost. He could yet cause grief untold. There are rumors of gatherings of orcs, goblins, and other deadly foes growing in strength. When the Dark Lord strikes, there will be more than one land that feels his wrath. I fear for the Shire and Rivendell. It would ease my heart to know that you'll look to the defense of the North for as long as you're needed. With help from Faran, of course.
Whatever Aradan and I, and the most esteemed Faran can do, we shall do. You have my promise. Nothing calls to my heart like this, my home. Unless perhaps the sea.
Hello, you are Andriel, aren't you? I was hoping I would get a chance to speak with you.
And you are Frodo Baggins. Aragorn and Gandalf have told me about you. And your burden.
Likewise, they have told me all about you. I wanted to thank you and your friends for all you did to keep us safe on our journey to Rivendell.
Will you tell me about your journey here? Clearly it was not an easy one.
We had trouble almost from the start. The Black Riders were always just behind us, and we nearly met disaster in the Burrow Downs, at Bree, and again at Weathertop.
You passed through the Burrow Downs? I know what you faced there. You are fortunate indeed to have escaped. That is no place to wander.
You seem to know a great deal about the Burrow Downs already. I'd prefer not to speak about what we found there. It is too horrible to dwell on, even here in the safety of Rivendell.
What befell you in Bree? We must have just missed crossing paths there.
There were spies in Bree, and our room was attacked in the night. If Strider hadn't convinced us to sleep elsewhere, our journey would have ended then and there.
I am familiar with the ruin known as Weathertop. What happened there?
We were attacked by 5 of the Black Riders. I was foolish, and I put on the ring. One of them wounded me before Aragorn managed to drive them away. The knife that was used against me left a shard in the wound. From what Gandalf has told me, the fragment was working its way inward. If it had reached my heart, I would have become a wraith under the power of the Black Riders. Fortunately, we were able to reach Rivendell in time for Elrond's healing arts to save me.
There is more to the Shire folk than many know. I do not believe you will fail us. Go with the goodwill of all who remain behind.
Well met, friend. It's an honor to make the acquaintance of one of Farin's valiant companions. I'm Glóin, son of Groin from the Lonely Mountain.
And one of Bilbo's companions in the quest to slay the dragon Smaug. I remember seeing you when Thorin Oakenshield's company stayed with us here in Rivendell. I am Andriel, a lawmaster of Elrond's house.
I heard about that business at Sarn Ford, and they say the 3 of you brought down an orc chieftain at Fornost. I expect I'll be hearing of even greater deeds before long. It does my heart good to see a dwarf, an elf, and a man working together again. Reminds me of the old days, it does, when the three kindred fought alongside one another in the Battle of the Five Armies.
Then you approve of my alliance with Farin?
I will speak plainly. I may be less than fond of King Thranduil's wood elves for keeping me in their dungeons, but I've no grudge with any of Elrond's folk.
I have heard when a dwarf bears a grudge, it is set in stone. But I believe this grudge against the Wood Elves should have been put aside long ago.
You're right, of course. I can be a stiff-necked old dwarf, but it's time to set aside grievances that were long ago repaid. When dwarves, men, and elves fought together at Erebor, we overcame legions of foes. But we face a far more terrible enemy in the Dark Lord. Standing together against Agendar may be more than just a good idea. It may be our only hope to save the North.
We must not forget the Great Eagles. They have been a great help to us, just as they were to you and your companions.
Well spoken. Thorin's quest and the Battle of Five Armies would have met disaster without the help of the Eagles. You're fortunate to have gained the friendship of such noble creatures. Your life may well depend upon your choice of friends, whatever kindred they be.
Sauron's attention will be focused largely on the south. If we thwart his plans here, he will be distracted. That could prove a benefit to the Ringbearer.
That's my thoughts upon the matter, too. Be the stinging fly in the ointment, as it were. Only this fly's sting will be deadly. And it's time to be about your business. Goodbye, and good luck to you.
Andriel, welcome home. It is good to have you back. I have already heard tales of your exploits. All of Imladris is proud of what you have done. Oh, but I forget my duties as steward. You have been through many bitter battles. Are you in need of new arms or equipment?
It is good to be home once again, Ilari. How fares Imladris in my absence?
Less serene than usual, I fear. The servants of the enemy came almost to our very doors in pursuit of the hobbit Frodo Baggins, but he was saved by the valor of Aragorn and the arts of the Lord Elrond. But you know more of this than I.
Were the Nazgul that pursued Frodo destroyed?
I do not know, but my heart tells me they were not. Elrond will be sending out many scouts to learn what they may of the fate of the Nazgul and the movements of the enemy. I have been told to prepare supplies for them. Those who venture...
Hello there, Andriel. It's good to see you back safe and sound. I've heard all about what you and your friends did to help my Frodo and the Dunedain reach Rivendell safely. Oh, you'll have to tell me all about it one of these days so I can write it all down properly.
I am glad Frodo made it here safely. He is your heir, yet he is not your son?
Oh, no, he's not my son. Actually, he's my first cousin once removed. And also my second cousin once removed. Well, it's complicated, but we share a great-grandfather. The poor lad was orphaned at an early age, and so I adopted him. Made him my heir, all nice and legal, while simultaneously dashing the greedy hopes of my odious relations, the Sackville Baggins. He's a good lad, Frodo. I only wish he hadn't inherited my troubles along with my estate. I hope that Gandalf and the Dunedain will keep him safe in the days ahead.
Can you tell me how Frodo came to be in possession of the Ring of Power?
Well, yes, that was through me, I'm afraid. I found the ring by happenstance while lost beneath the roots of the Misty Mountains. I won it. That is to say, I took it from the preacher Gollum. Of course, I did not know the full story of the ring until only a few days ago. I thought it was merely a magical bauble with the power to make the wearer invisible. I only used it to avoid unwelcome visitors. Imagine that old ring of mine causing such a fuss. I would gladly take charge of it again if that would help. Oh, yes. Gladly. Yes. You know, I think it would be best if we discussed something else.
So you have been keeping up with your writing. What is it you are working on now?
Oh, a little of this and a little of that. History, my past adventures, family trees. I've even begun a book of translations from the Elvish. Although lately I've been working on poetry mostly. Say, maybe you could help me with that. I'm writing a poem for Aragorn and I'm a bit stuck on a line or two.
Is that so? Well then, let me hear what you have.
Very well, very well. The verse that's giving me trouble runs like this. Ahem. The light from the west is rekindled. Forth from Imladris it springs. Renewed is the hope that has dwindled.
The light from the west is rekindled. Forth from Imladris it springs. Renewed is the hope that is dwindled. The scion of Westernese kings.
Why, yes. Yes, that's just the thing, isn't it? Oh, my friend, you should consider exchanging those weapons of yours for the poet's pen.
These days, our hands must be more often on the bowstring than the harp-string.
Oh, I'm afraid you're right, but since these old hands are not much use with the sword, I'll just keep on with the pen. Though I'll need some help. Perhaps you could show this to the Lady Arwen. She has her people's gift with words, and this touches her deeply after all.
I will take it to her.
Ah, thanks very much. Be sure to give her my compliments, won't you?
Happily. Farewell for now, Bilbo.
It is good to see you safely returned. I am told you passed through many dangers to bring us warning of a new threat facing these lands. Estelle speaks highly of you, and my brothers praised the courage you showed at Fornost. I thank you for the part you played in their safe return as well. Rest now a while in the peace of Imladris. It is long since we sat and spoke of herb lore and other gentle arts.
It is a matter of the gentle arts that I bring to you. I have been speaking with Bilbo.
Say no more. I thought our people had a passion for poetry, but this hobbit may yet put us to shame.
Bilbo seems most unusual for a hobbit.
Perhaps we know less of hobbits than we think. They have a strength within that is far greater than their stature. Though I have only just met Frodo, I see the same qualities in him. Bilbo resisted the evil of the ring longer than many we would have called strong. It sustained him, so that now he is very old amongst his kind. But it did not stain him, and it has not lessened his love of poetry and song. Dear old Bilbo. I do believe there is nothing he loves more, except a good meal. In that, he remains a true hobbit.
I have a poem of his here. He asks for your opinion and advice, for he says the subject is a matter very close to your heart.
Then I would guess it is another poem in honor of Estelle. Leave it with me, Andreal. I will give it some thought and answer him myself.
Bilbo will be pleased, I am sure. I would that I had more time for such arts, but Elrond is in need of my skills, and I fear I must leave for the Etenmoors as soon as may be.
Then I will not keep you, but perhaps we may be of service to one another. Your journey may solve a problem that has perplexed me. I am helping my father create a quantity of Miraval, and we may fall short of certain rare ingredients which can be found in the Etenmoors.
In all my years at Imladris, only once have I tasted the fragrant cordial Miraval. I remember how it renewed my heart and gave me fresh strength.
Yes, it is difficult to create and therefore precious. If I gave you a list of the ingredients, perhaps you could bring them back from the Etenmoors. I will set aside a flask for your own use when we have brewed it.
You are generous, lady. I will seek them out for you and return with them once my mission is completed.
This is rough country, no mistake. But so far, we've seen no sign of trouble.
But the moors stretch on for many leagues. It would be easy to miss something in these rugged crags and valleys.
Let us continue the search, but be wary. More than one ranger has been lost in these wild lands.